lesson. Actually, the second last little bit. So let's talk about communication. It's so important. It's important normally like in face-to-face classrooms, but I think it's even more so in this virtual world where we have some kids on campus, some virtual learning, and you have to find some way to communicate with each other and work together, and at the same time be able to communicate with me and have me communicate well with you as well. Because, you know, a lot of times if it's hard to read communication sometimes is what I'm trying to say. All right, so first question for you is, how do we communicate? All right, verbal, yeah, what I'm doing right now with my voice. And then non-verbal, right, the things I'm doing with my hand. So when we think of verbal, we're thinking of things like speaking, right, the sounds you make, okay. Non-verbal, body language, right, yes, no, hand gestures, could be body gestures, right, facial gestures. And I really asterisk this one for a reason. We'll talk about that. Hand gestures, not all of them are universal, right? Sign language certainly isn't. We'll talk about the other ones after. And I know it's like raise your hand, but just kind of like you're going to answer as a yes or no. If you speak two or more languages, I'll change the question on here, so just answer that question. Raise your hand if a language other than English is your first language. Raise your hand if English is one of the main languages spoken in your country. So you guys can't see here. Normally I do this in the classroom, but hopefully you've seen that. Ignore the face-to-face stuff. Hopefully you can see that most people speak at least two languages at EF Academy, because again, it's an international school, bringing all these different students from all around the world. And some of you even speak more than two languages, you know, to like 3 or even 4 languages. In terms of whether English is your first language, most of us, English is not our first language, and that's okay, right? And then whether English is the main language spoken in your home country. And for most of us, again, you guys can't see it, but I can see it. Most of us, it's not our first language. So virtual classroom, ignore the face-to-face. This is how you're going to do this. You're going to record a meeting, so that means you're going to have to find each other. I'll form the groups, all right? Form groups in the same time zone where everyone speaks a different language, and I will assign that. So there will be a Google, again, a link in the introductory lesson section where you get all the instructions on how to do this and to find your group members. Each student then in your group will take turn to translate the following sentence in your first language on the Zoom's whiteboard. So I'll show you guys how to do this in the I'll explain how to do this in the actual introductory lesson. Sorry, in the assignment lesson that's linked to this introductory block. All right, so all it is hi, where are you from? I know that sounds easy, but try that in a different language. So each student, you're going to say the same thing to the other. You're going to try to get the other group members to learn how to say hi, where are you from in your own language. And I'm going to have you write it as well in your own language. So if it's like Mandarin text, use it, right? If it's Vietnamese with all those intonation accents, use those. So teach the other members how to say it. And really, really, really record the meeting, because I want to see them. So this is your first time that you're going to be, some of you guys are going to be meeting each other for the first time online. The other learners will try their best to say this phrase respectfully. So that means that you're going to really have to be really creative with the timing and how, I'm going to make sure that you guys are roughly in the same time zone to do this activity. All right. Was it challenging? Was it successful? It probably wasn't so easy, right? So I hope what you got from this was that, you know, learning a new language is not easy. Speaking a second, third, fourth language is not easy. So just be super, super forgiving towards each other, especially in like biology terms. Some of them are really hard to say. I struggle with some of them. So, you know, I don't ever want to hear anyone chuckling or laughing at each other. Just be supportive. Like, oh, you know, I think you pronounce it this way, right? Help each other out. That's all I'm saying. All right, nonverbal communication. I often say this, it's not my saying, it's someone else, I can't remember where I got it from, but people trust their eyes more than their ears. So even though we hear things, we usually kind of trust what we're seeing instead. So what I mean by that is, for example, I'm really, really sad today. Yeah, I'm so sad. Yeah, do you believe me? Probably not, because my facial expression is showing my eyes lit up, my big smile. So even though I'm telling you I'm really sad, you're trusting my facial expression. And this is really true too when someone's like, you know, how are you? And you're like, oh yeah, like I'm really, really well. But you can see that they're like they're pretty sad. So we trust our eyes more than our ears. So watch what they do and not really what they say. And I really hold that to heart, because I think it really helps us interact with each other in a more successful way that is more empathetic with compassion. So when the speaker's words do not match the body language, people tend, again, to believe the body language rather than the words. So let's take a look at a couple of things. So when talking about nonverbal communication, body language, such as facial gestures, it's going to be a little different here. So I'm going to just kind of pull this up instead as though it's a conversation. So normally I'd have two volunteers come up and I would ask them to show me what it looks like to be happy. So instead I want you guys to just do it to yourself, right? Show me what your facial expression would be, or your facial gesture would be if you were happy. And now I'm going to stay completely like one facial expression with no expression. Right, show me what you would do if you were confused. So what would your facial gestures be like? How about sadness? All right, how about surprise? Okay, anger, excitement. All right, so again, you won't have noticed this, but I want to see whether your facial gestures look something like this. Probably, right? Happy, big, like kind of upside down, like smiley face, eyes more kind of like this, right? Confusion, little, some of you guys might have done this. Sadness, that smile is upside down and your eyes are kind of like this. Everyone always, surprise is always like this. Okay, anger, right? Excitement. So you'll notice that facial gestures are quite universal. So this year is a little different. We're all wearing masks. Hopefully when we're doing Zoom meetings, like our masks are off so we can really use those facial gestures to like kind of help us, you know, move the conversation in a certain direction. But now in our classrooms, it's going to be a bit more difficult not being able to see people's faces and recognizing if someone's upset or offended by something you might have said, and then you know, learning how or trying to address that, or again, or being more empathetic towards it, right? So let's take a look at then body gestures. Okay, all right. The person on the pink shirt, the person on the blue shirt, state whether body gestures are also universal. What do you think? Suggest what each of these body gestures say about the individual's mood. So this person versus this person, right? So we could probably say that, you know, arms crossed, kind of defensive, you're kind of protecting yourself or clothes off. Sometimes my arms just get tight and I just like to hold like this because it holds my arms up better. And then it means none of that, right? But universally, it's kind of like the feeling people have when people have that that body gesture. Hands on the hips, right? Ready? Are they ready? They're in control. A sign of aggressiveness. Again, sometimes I do this just because my arms are tired and I'm like resting them on my hips. So again, we just got to be a bit careful with this. Normally, it is universal, but sometimes it do mean other things. Okay, so that's why I say for the most part. Okay, and again, we are responding to other people's emotions. So by being able to see, like, recognize facial gestures and body gestures, we can get a sense of how someone's mood is, and then we can respond appropriately, right? If someone's angry, you're not going to be in their face and be super excited. You might want to take a step back, right? Okay, how about this? Nonverbal communication, body language. So looking at hand gestures. So we got two here, this one and this one. So state whether hand gestures are also universal. So think about what each of these mean in your own country. All right, so for this one, like clenched fist, right, usually means like anger or solidarity. Sometimes you just fist bump, so it can mean a little different. And this one here is saying that in some places it does mean okay, but sometimes it doesn't, right? Again, in some countries, by doing this, it means like 0. So if I was like, hey, what did you think of my pecan pie I made the other day? And you'd be like, in your head, excellent. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they think my pie was worthless. It's 0. So we have to be careful with hand gestures. How about this one? Thumbs up, right? Or how about cross finger gesture? This one, all right? I think we already know those hand gestures are not universal. Yeah, thumbs up can mean good. It can mean like waving a taxi. Cross finger gesture, like good luck, right? Also like good luck also means like fibbing, lying. And then I didn't learn this until like 2 years ago, but it's a very provocative, vulgar symbol in Vietnamese culture. If you see me face to face one day, I'll explain that to you. If not, look it up, figure it out. Okay. All right, so knowing all of this stuff, why would this help us? So we know that facial gestures, body gestures, usually typically are universal, but hand gestures are not. So my biggest thing is just be more forgiving towards each other, right? And be more patient. Of course, we want to get to know each other's different cultures and how we use hand gestures. So that's important too. Getting to know and learning each other's cultures, and also being forgiving if someone uses it unintentionally in that way, where in your culture it might mean something negative and theirs they don't. And then have a conversation, and then you're learning something about each other. Okay, that is it. This is it. After this, guys, get ready. It's going to be a lot of biology. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.